Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by The Guild. I am Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. We'll start things off with our first Cowboy rumor of the day is Dez Bryant not having issues finding a team. I'm going to give this one just the 2 stars. I don't know if I fully believe Dez Bryant. He recently chimed in on Instagram saying the last problem he has is finding a team, which I kind of get what he's saying, that I think he believes that there's interest. He just hasn't picked his right team. He wants to take his time. But if this was the case, wouldn't he already be signed? Just throwing that out there as a potential option. Now, Bryant says he's taken his time to find the right fit, and there's been limited public interest, at least the shown interest, from NFL teams so far. I think he finds a team. I just don't know when it's going to happen. Might not be until closer or even after training camp starts for the rest of the NFL. Number 2, could Jason Garrett be the first NFL head coach fired? Well, I'm only going to give it the 1 star. I know some of you guys want Jason Garrett gone, and I get it, but it's just the 1 star here. We'll break down all those odds here in just a second, but Garrett was 9th best, or I guess 9th worst in this case, among odds to be the first NFL head coach fired. And Garrett does enter the year on the hot seat for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he could be fired at the end of the year, but I find a midseason dump to be rather unlikely. I don't really foresee Garrett getting canned early. Here were those odds, by the way. Tied for 10th, you had guys like Pete Carroll. John Gruden, for some stupid reason, was on the list. John Harbaugh. Then it was Jason Garrett. And then you got into the more likely options. Bill O'Brien, Todd Bowles. You had Jay Gruden, Dirk Cutter up there. I love those odds, 12-1. Vance Joseph, Marvin Lewis, Adam Gase, Hugh Jackson. All coaches on worse NFL teams that if they start the year really badly will likely get canned. But folks, I want to know from you guys, will Jason Garrett be the Cowboys head coach after this season? Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do believe that if Garrett fails to make the playoffs, the Cowboys will fire him, barring a whole bunch of injuries, and they'll go in a new direction at the head coaching search. All right, next up. Could the Cowboys trade for DeSean Jackson? I'm going to nip this one in the bud right now. It's fake news. Comes to us from Fansided, who said, ooh, the Cowboys should trade for DeSean Jackson, which doesn't make sense for a lot of different reasons. The biggest one for me, and Fansided didn't even mention this, DeSean Jackson has an $11 million salary this year. Why would you bring that in? You can barely afford that for the Cowboys. Save your money for DeSean Jackson, who I know. He's fun, he's sexy, he makes some big plays. That's too much money for a player of DeSean Jackson's caliber. And oh, by the way, Fansided also said maybe you could trade Terrence Williams for him. Can we stop with the terrible T-Will trade offers? Why on earth would the Bucs do that trade? Why would they trade a better receiver in DeSean Jackson for Terrence Williams, who has a whole bunch of off-field issues right now? Oh, and is hurt right now. Doesn't make any sense. That's why I gave it the fake news. Next up, Jaylon Smith. Could he play multiple spots at linebacker? I'll tell you what. I almost gave this one 4 stars. I'll go with 3 just in case someone like Leighton Vander Esch gets hurt. But I think you're going to see Jaylon Smith play some Mike linebacker, some strong side linebacker. He'll be an edge rusher at times. You might even see some weak side if Sean Lee needs a breather. In particular this year for Jaylon Smith, I think you'll see him rush the passer more. He was pretty good at that role last season. Now, Smith was actually the number 2 pass rusher among non-edge rushing linebackers per Pro Football Focus. Only blitzed 17 times, had 4 hurries and a sack. That's pretty good efficiency there. So I think Smith, as we saw later in the year, was much better as things went along. I have bigger expectations this year in what we'll call year 2, even though it's only year 3, for Jaylon Smith. All right, next up, could Tyrone Crawford go back to DT? I know you guys have this one quite a bit. I see some of you guys out there saying Crawford should go back to defensive tackle, but I'm only going to give it just the 1 star. I don't find it very likely, and that was confirmed by a couple of different Cowboys.com writers over the weekend. The Cowboys have kept Crawford at defensive end this year and have asked him to cut a significant amount of weight. He's pretty unlikely to make a move back to defensive tackle. Now, it could happen if there are a whole bunch of injuries at DT, but I simply don't find it all that likely. Now, I get it. I agree that I think Crawford's ideal fit is as a 3 technique, but this year, folks, the Cowboys are going to keep him at defensive end. David Irving, Malik Collins, We'll see how they fare early in the year, come back from injury and suspension, respectively. We'll talk more about Jihad Ward here in just a second. And then Brian Price and Dayton Jones as well, plus some guys that I doubt make the roster, and Richard Ash, Antoine Woods, and so on. And then at DE, look, it's a really good group there. DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford, Taco, Dorrance Armstrong, Coney Ely. Ely probably likely battling for a roster spot alongside guys like Charles Tapper. Ooh, and then maybe Randy Gregory comes back for suspension. So I get it. I get why some of you want Crawford to go back to DT because you have the bodies at defensive end you don't have on the interior, but the Cowboys don't seem to feel that way. But folks, let me know, where should the Cowboys play Tyrone Crawford? Give me a heart for DT and a like for defensive end. And don't forget to subscribe to our brand new Cowboys Report YouTube channel at chatsports.com/CowboysTV. It'll take you right into the subscribe page. All of our great Cowboys content all in one spot. Next up, did the Cowboys get steals in Tavon Austin and Jihad Ward? I will give it 2 stars, and I think it's just a little bit early to actually call them steals because we haven't even got to training camp yet. Now, I get why people are excited. There were a lot of good things we saw from Austin at Ward and OTAs and at minicamp. Austin should play a big role in the offense and on special teams. Jihad Ward is now in line for major key snaps with David Irving hurt, and Ward looked pretty good under Rod Marinelli early this offseason. But it's still just a little bit early to call them steals. The potential is definitely there. But let's revisit this in the preseason, not before we even really put the pads on. So let me know who will have the bigger impact. Give me a like for Jihad Ward and a heart for Tavon Austin. I will lean toward Tavon Austin because he should impact in 2 different areas, both in the return game and on offense. All right, next up, number 7. Is Dak going to take a discount? Well, we'll break that one down after a word from our sponsor, The Guild. On his new contract. Essentially, it's the one that's coming up, but we're only going to give this one 2 stars for now. There's a possibility, but Dak Prescott didn't exactly say he was going to sign super cheap. So what Dak had said in an interview with USA Today was that it's all about winning and that he wants to do what's best to get good players and keep good players, but at the same time, I want to do what's best for me, and I got to take care of myself and my family. So in reality, I don't think you're going to see Dak Prescott demand an outrageous sum of money. And I also think that getting a deal done earlier than you absolutely have to, getting this deal done in advance of his contract actually ending, will help drive down the price. But here's the deal with Dak Prescott. This is kind of the bare minimum you're going to have to pay him. $30 million for Matt Ryan, $28 million for Kirk Cousins, $27 million for Stafford and Jimmy G, $25 million plus for Carr and Drew Brees. And that number is probably only going to go up. So although you would love to be able to pay Dak the similar contract he's got right now and save some money there, quarterbacks, even just above average ones like, say, Kirk Cousins, for example, demand an incredible amount of money. You're going to have to pay him quite a bit of money if he is indeed your franchise guy. I know not all of you guys feel this way, so let me know in the comment section. But I do think Dak is the franchise quarterback. There were some doubts that have come out because of the way he played down the stretch last year amid offensive line injuries. But I do believe that Dak is the franchise guy. And if he plays like we think he will this season, the Cowboys will pay him like one after the year ends. Speaking of Dak, is he going to disappoint this year? We've kind of changed adjustments here rather dramatically. Just the 1 star. I don't really believe this from Bleacher Report. They picked out their player most likely to disappoint this year, and they said it was Dak. And they didn't really make a strong argument. It was that, Dez Bryant, Jason Witten are gone. And then mentioned that, you get Zeke and Tyrone back, but if they get hurt again, the player could regress. And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, but why would you assume players will get hurt? Like, that's not the right way to go about doing things. If that's the case, it's not really on the quarterback. It's going to be on the rest of the offense for having issues, be it on or off-field injury-wise. So I didn't really buy that one. And then, by the way, they pretty much picked the quarterback for almost every single team. So just the 1 star. It could happen, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year for Dak Prescott. Maybe early in the year as the offense adjusts, but I don't see it. Speaking of the offense, will Zeke reach 2,000 all-purpose yards? I'm going to go maybe a little bit rogue here and give it 3 stars. I do think this is going to happen. I have very, very high expectations in year 3 for Ezekiel Elliott. Now, the Dallas Morning News says, 600 yards on the ground, 500 receiving yards. And I think that's about right. It's actually fewer yards on the ground than Zeke had in his rookie year. Although he's never hit 2,000 yards, he was very close in his first year. and probably would have done it had he not been suspended for 6 games last season. Just for a little reference point here, here were last year's all-purpose yards there. Of course, you had Gurley and Bell and Kamara, and then Lockett thanks to special teams, Kareem Hunt, Deion Lewis. You put him at 2,000 yards total. Zeke Elliott, I believe, will have MVP consideration this year, and I think if the Cowboys play well, you're going to see that this year for Ezekiel Elliott. So, folks, let me know in the comments section, how many yards on the ground will Zeke have this year? I like around 1,600. That's about 100 per game. Let me know what you think in the comments section, if it's higher or if you're going crazy, even lower than that.